And that's the whole purpose of this activation exercise is to connect the brain to the muscles that...
What's up? 筋肉翻訳です。さあ今日は筋トレで怪我をする人は絶対にできないたった一つの動き見ていきましょう。怪我していませんか？今回は特に腰についてです。腰が痛い人は今日紹介する動作が難しいと思います。ユニティジムさんがその動作を教えてくれています。どんな動作なのでしょうか？早速見ていきましょう。どうぞ。
Today we're demonstrating the FMS bent knee dowel rod hip bend. This movement we use for absolute beginners to help condition the neural pathway between brain and the posterior chain, which is the glutes, hamstrings and lower back. A lot of people, especially if they come from a sedentary job where they sit down for long periods of time, have complete disconnect from that muscle system, and when they go to perform a deadlift, any variation of a deadlift or a hip bend, even a squat, they lose that position. So if that's you, this is a fantastic movement to get you going, and effectively it's just a muscle activation exercise. We're lifting no weight except the dowel rod here. So very, very importantly, this is not about lifting a truckload of weight. So Rad will demonstrate, he's going to put the dowel rod behind. Now I'll point out very quickly what the critical point here is. If I get Rad to turn around, the dowel rod remains in contact with the back of his head, the back of his shoulders between his shoulder blades and his tailbone. And then that space where he's holding or gripping the dowel rod here gives him just enough clearance in his lumbar spine. So very importantly, we're looking for 3 points in contact with the dowel rod at all times, and that will make sure that his body remains in that neutral curve, which is super important. We always want that with the deadlifts. Okay, Rad's going to demonstrate a few repetitions. You'll notice he's starting with a bent knee, and he's going to keep the knees bent, which gives him a lot more mobility in the hamstrings, so he can come almost all the way down to a horizontal position. And he's effectively just moving in the hips, and that's the whole purpose of this activation exercise, is to connect the brain to the muscles that basically bring him up out of that bent position without losing any posture in his spine. Super important that those 3 points remain in contact with the dowel rod at all times. And I repeat again, this is an activation exercise. It's training the body to recruit the right sequence of muscles before we start loading the movement with things like Romanian deadlifts, back extensions, football back extensions, and also deadlifts and squats. That is the FMS bent knee dowel rod hip bend.
さあ、いかがでしたでしょうか？背骨が自然なカーブを保ったまま股関節から折り曲げていく動作でした。この動きはヒップヒンジとも呼びます。はじめは今回のように細い棒を持って行って、できるようになったら棒をなくして腕を床に向けて行っていくと、段階的に重さを持ってもそのデッドリフトの動作ができるようになってきます。もちろんこの段階を踏まずにこの動作ができる人もいます。なのでこの種目のゴールは最終的に重さを持ったとしても、その負荷が腰ではなくハムや臀筋、腰以外の背中全体に乗っている感覚が得られることかなと思います。どこに負荷が乗っているのか、自分の体と会話してみてください。みんなはヒップヒンジの時、どのようなイメージだとうまく行いますか？コメント欄で教えてください。僕は大きく息を吸って脇を締める。そしてへそ下とももをつけるようなイメージで倒していくとうまくできるようになります。最後まで見ていただいてありがとうございます。感想や動画のリクエスト、チャンネル登録お待ちしています。ではまた。I won't look back when you're around.